think the general view, certainly in Downing Street, will be that Keir Starmer sort of got away with it, sort of had an OK time. You know, there was the magnificent sort of pageantry of Windsor on Wednesday. And then yesterday, all the historic stuff down at Chequers, where Donald Trump and his entourage were kind of welcomed into the bosom of British traditional family life. The one question I would have, though, of course, is that Keir Starmer said he doesn't like portraits looking down at him. Well, the drawing room of Chequers is absolutely chock full of portraits. Doesn't take any of them down. So maybe he's either not quite telling the truth or it's a two-tier system on portraits. Could that be true? 5 minutes past 7. I'm Mike Graham. Let's get it on. In other political news, of course, Ed Davey 10 times tells Piers Morgan he can't actually decide whether or not women can have a penis or not. And Jeremy Corbyn's new party appears to be in disarray, which I suppose is more good news for Keir Starmer. In more bad news for Keir Starmer, Andy Burnham on the front page of the Telegraph apparently has opened the door to challenge for the leadership. But there's a lot of people who don't think he's up to it, to be honest. Let's talk to John Rentoul, chief political commentator at The Independent. John, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. As you say, it's one of Keir Starmer's best days as Prime Minister so far.
It's a low bar, isn't it? Because unfortunately, those of you who rejoice in these things because Starmer hasn't fallen flat on his face and made a complete fool of himself and go, it's brilliant, it's fantastic, well done. And not only that, he's managed to deport somebody, someone, as he refers to them. You know, it's great news.
It's well, it's progress. It's a step forward, and it's a slap in the face to all those people trying to talk the country down.
Well, it's not really. It's not really because
all these people saying, "Oh, it's a terrible failure. We've sent these planes to France with empty seats on them,"
which is true.
It's not working.
Which is true.
The pilot scheme is now working.
Well,
we have actually
sent
2 people back to France.
Well, the second one's going today. The second one's going today, but it's not actually the pilot scheme is all very well. But I said this, you know, a piece I wrote for the Sun last week. At the end of the day, or early this week, at the end of the day, it's not a reduction in numbers because we're going to get more people coming from France to replace those who are gone. Now, what we don't know, because the government won't tell us, is how many are coming on a plane from France tomorrow. If it's any more than 2, then I would suggest that it's not working because we're bringing more people into the country, therefore increasing the numbers rather than decreasing them. Surely the point is to decrease the number.
No, you're absolutely wrong, Mike.
How?
It is working. The whole point of this pilot scheme is that it has established the principle that we can send people back to France. Now, if that can be scaled up, so
it's a big if.
Well, of course it's a big if. Yes, but I'm just explaining how this might work.
So you're now saying it might work rather than it does work.
Oh no, I don't think it's enough at all. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
And I don't think the government has done enough. I think we've wasted 14 months.
Yeah.
And I think the government should be doing a lot more. But
yeah. And so does Donald Trump.
This is one. Yeah. Well, but his problem's slightly different. I mean, as you can tell when he suggests the military, because I mean, there's a bit of C in between, which is usually the Navy's problem.
Well, they're in the military, aren't they?
Yeah, sorry, I thought he meant soldiers. I thought.
Well, I think by the military just means any military. He sort of said by any means possible, really, didn't he?
Well, he did, and I think that he has a point in that the government has not shown sufficient sense of urgency about this. But then the previous government allowed it to just go on for 3 years.
I mean, the previous government would argue, of course, that it was Rwanda that would have stopped the boats from coming, and that was never given a chance because.
But we all know that's.
Well, we don't know because again, it's an if, isn't it? I mean, I'm no great fan of the last government, as you know. I didn't think they were any good, but they weren't given the chance to let Rwanda work, and if they had been, maybe it would have been as successful as this particular, you know.
I don't think it could have. It couldn't have worked because it didn't have the. I mean, you could only send a few hundred back, whereas this pilot.
They've only sent 1.
Is uncapped. No, but yes, of course they've only sent 1 so far, but that proves that you can send them back to France.
Well, it proves you can send 1 back.
And if you can send 1 back, you can send thousands back.
Yeah, but the one they've sent back, actually, is on the way to India because France have apparently got a deal. Well, it does matter because France have got a deal with India. So if we've got people here, so it's not even clear because the government are being less than transparent, despite what they say, as to how this person got into the country. We don't know. We don't even know if he came.
But no, they came in on a small boat. I mean,
they haven't said that.
We do know that. Yes, they
haven't
have.
said that.
I think they have said that.
I
Anyway,
haven't seen that.
but the point is, if once you've established the principle that you can send people back to France, then if we can send most of the small boat arrivals back to France, then the small boats will stop.
They won't, though, because there's far more.
At that point,
John,
I'm
they
sure
won't.
you'll congratulate the
No,
government.
they won't.
Until then,
no, because the principle is incorrect. Because the problem is, as we said at the time, it's actually probably worse. But take any ratio you want. More people have come in than have gone back. Therefore, they haven't said how they pick people out of a lineup when they arrive, for example. They say they've detained about 100 people since August the 6th, right? They've been holding them in a place near Heathrow Airport. Since those 100 people have been detained, there's been another 5,500 that have come in who haven't been detained. So if you're not, unless you're detaining all of them, then you're not winning, are you?
No, but the aim is to detain all of them and to send them back. Yes, of course it is. That's the whole point of the scheme.
Why have they only detained 100 then since August the 6th?
Well, because they haven't actually got the capacity to send them back yet, because we've only just established that it's possible to do that, and it only applies.
But you see my point. The point is that it's riddled with problems. This whole scene, and I would be absolutely in support of it and in support of what you're saying, if it meant anything more than just a handful. Because the numbers.
But that's the whole point, Mike. It is intended to be more than a handful.
Yes, I know it's intended to be. I know it's intended to be, John, but it's not. And as you say, they haven't got the capacity to do it. So it's going to be a very long time. Somebody told me at this rate, it'll take something like 967 years just to get rid of the people that have come here.
But this is just pettifogging nonsense.
It's not pettifogging.
The whole point is it's a pilot scheme. It's testing the principle. Once you can send one back, you can send thousands back. Now, if you can send thousands back, that would be a serious deterrent, and it would stop the boats. I accept that is extremely unlikely, and the government ought to be doing a lot of other things as well.
Yeah.
But this is one thing that is actually capable of working in principle, and you ought to be encouraging the government for it.
I'm not encouraging the government for it because, again, the principle is not to reduce the numbers. The principle is to replace them.
To reduce the numbers in the end, Mike. It's because if you can scale it up so that you send most of them back.
Do you know how many people are coming from France on Saturday?
Thousands. But I mean, if you can send. I'm talking about on the plane that is being flown here. The people who have been pre-approved are coming here on Saturday. Do you know how many of them there are? No, we haven't been told yet.
No, exactly. So depending on how many are coming, we might end up with, say, 10 coming, which would mean we're already -8 because we've only sent 2 there. So the point is that
Mike,
so you're already building the number.
It's a pilot scheme. It hasn't started yet.
Well, you can't keep telling.
Established principles that we can send
hang on.
back.
You can't have it both ways.
If we can send more back, then it'll work.
Well, no, because when you send more back, they'll send more back to us. That's the way it works. It's called one in, one out. So at the end of the day, even if you send 5,000, hang on, if you send 5,000 back, they'll send us another 5,000 next week.
If we send 5,000 back, if we send 5,000 back, then the boats stop, and then we don't send any more back.
No, they won't.
And they don't send any to us. It's very simple.
No, it's not very simple because the deal is with France that they will send us pre-approved asylum seekers who have got a right to come to Britain and live, right? Which is
to match the numbers that we send back to them.
Yes. So how is that a victory?
If the boats stop coming, Mike, then we won't be sending any back to them, and they won't be sending any migrants to us.
Yeah, but what makes you think the boats will stop coming?
Well, because if we send most of the people who arrive by small boats, then the boats will stop coming.
No, I don't agree with that at all because it's a business, right? The people that are running the business are not going to be stopped by some nebulous piece of legislation which says
No, the people are not going to want to come if they get sent straight back to France. That's the very simple principle.
Yeah, but that's not what's happening.
Precisely what you want to happen, and this is the government attempting to.
So you're asking me to believe that they're going to be able to jump the numbers that they detain from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, and they're going to hold all those people, and then they're going to send them all back, and they're not going to be challenged by human rights lawyers. It's just not going to work.
Well, but the whole point is that it is starting to work, and if you can send one back, you can send thousands back.
I don't agree. That's like saying, if you can teach one person French in 2 seconds because he's a genius, you can then teach 10,000 people French. You can't just, extrapolate it like that. You know that. But I admire your sort of, support for such a useless scheme, but I just don't think it's going to get anywhere.
Well, it's got further than anything else has got so far. I mean, there may be other.
Well, no, the Tories managed to send
sending in the military.
The Tories managed to send a couple of people to Rwanda because they convinced them to go.
Volunteers.
They paid them to go. Well, we don't know if this Indian guy's a volunteer. They haven't said.
Well, you could pay people to go. That's fine. I mean,
yeah, but they might have paid him. We don't know.
We're doing that as well.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know if we paid this Eritrean guy. We don't know if we paid the Indian guy. We don't know.
Well,
they won't tell us.
I think we do pay them even if they are enforced.
And we're also paying the French to put them in hotels, so it's not exactly a win-win for Starmer. He's the world's worst negotiator, isn't he? It has to be said. Anyway, what did you make of it all yesterday? Let's move on to that.
I thought it was a very successful.
There were some great comedy moments, weren't there?
There were some comic moments, but it all went surprisingly well. Donald Trump said that he had been let down by Vladimir Putin. I thought that was a very important.
Yeah, I thought Trump played it very well, actually.
Yeah, but I think Keir Starmer should deserve some credit for having brought Donald Trump round to not abandoning the Ukrainian people in their hour of need. And I think that's been sort of something that's been on the move, hasn't it? Here's one that I want to put to you though, because this is my strangest clip of all, and this was when the question came in about whether Britain was a Christian country, because I think Keir Starmer's answer is a bit weird. Have a look.
The question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind: are we still a Christian country?
In terms of a Christian country, I was christened, so that is. My church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well, and I'm really proud that we're able to do so as a country.
I mean, it's not really the straight answer that we were looking for, because he told us before that he's an atheist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, why doesn't he just say he's an atheist?
My church is my life. I mean, yeah, that was very, very odd. I mean, I think what he was trying to say was something very simple and obvious, which is that Britain has a very strong Christian heritage, but
is it a Christian country?
It dominates all a lot of aspects of national life. But
to say when you ask the question, I mean, if I said to you, do you think Britain's a Christian country, and you just said, well, I've been christened, I'd go, well, yes, so. What's that going to do with anything? I don't really care. Also, he didn't say we might be christened a Catholic. I don't really care, to be honest. But I just find his obfuscation a bit weird. And because he was clearly thinking in his head, you could hear the cogs going around. He didn't want to upset any other religious faith. That would be wrong because he'd get in terrible trouble for it. But it tells you a lot about where he is in his mind, doesn't it?
Well, I think he was just trying to express the rather obvious thought that a lot of people have been christened. A lot of people do go to church maybe once a year.
You're doing it now, but now you're doing it.
And the king is still the head of the Church of England and all the rest of it. So yes, there is it is a nominally Christian country in some sense.
Nominally.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a slightly better answer than the one he gave, but only just. Because I don't know why people are so frightened of saying it. They're so worried about offending people who might not be Christian. It just seems a bit odd to me.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of an odd question to ask, though, isn't it? Because
well, a lot of people ask the question.
To do with the Prime Minister.
Well, a lot of people who are Christians wonder about whether or not it's still a Christian country, and I think they feel as though the country's kind of religious heritage has been eroded, and that's why they ask the question, and they expect to get an answer from the man who's in charge of the country.
Well, yeah, but it's not his responsibility, is it? I mean, well, the fact that a lot of people don't believe in the Christian religion.
I mean, he's one of them, and he didn't say so.
Yeah, no, I could see that. But he was standing next to Donald Trump, who doesn't believe either, I suspect. Although I think he says he does for the purposes of winning elections.
Well, I mean, a lot of people say that there is no such thing as God, but I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't admit it if you believe in it or you don't believe in it. I just want people to be honest. Have a look at this one. This is Donald Trump listing his achievements in front of Keir Starmer, who looks a bit puce.
GDP last quarter was 3.3%. One of the things we're doing, which I'm very proud of, is the border. We now have a totally closed border, totally secure for 3 months. 0 people came into our country, bad people. And inflation is virtually non-existent. As you know, we're taking in trillions of dollars from tariffs, and they've been so incredible for our country, so incredible. We're keeping our companies happy, we're keeping them solid and sane, and they're very, very thrilled at what's happened. They can't even believe it. And we've never seen investment like this. Without the tariffs, we would have just a fraction of that. But we've slashed 30-year-old regulations, and as you know, in my first term, we had a very successful first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country, and we had the biggest regulation cut in the history of our country. But we slashed regulations at a level that's never been done before, and we're doing it at the same level right now. I recently signed the largest tax cuts in our country's history, and the countries and companies are coming into our country for the expensing aspect of the bill. I call it the big, beautiful bill, the great, big, beautiful bill.
Sorry. Keir's sort of sitting there thinking in his head, my list isn't as long as that. Can I get a list that's as long as that? I just thought it was quite a funny clip, really. I mean, notwithstanding the grandstanding part of it.
Well, it was the worst two Ronnies sketch I've ever seen. I mean, one quality Keir Starmer does have is that he has a very he just looks serious,
deadpan,
and is able to keep a completely straight face when the bloke next to him is talking absolute nonsense.
Well, you might say that, but the point is that if Keir Starmer was to list his achievements, all he would come out with is the one he keeps coming out with was, free school meals and 500 breakfast clubs.
Yeah,
and that's all he ever says.
He does
where
not
it
have
stops.
Much, and various cuts in the Bank of England's rate of interest, which cuts which have now stopped.
Well, the Bank of England warning this morning in the Telegraph, basically, that another Labour tax raid would so badly affect the economy that's why they've kept the interest rates on hold at 4%, because they fear what's coming in November.
Well, we all do.
Yeah, we certainly do.
The budget is going to be a very serious obstacle for this government to get over. But in the meantime, let's celebrate the collapse of the Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultan party.
That is the most.
That is good news. For
talk about a two Ronnie sketch. That's like an entire Fawlty Towers episode. What is going on?
I think that must have made the Prime Minister's day yesterday. I think. He is under serious threat from disaffected voters who are defecting both to the right and to the left.
Yeah.
And to have any support from Jeremy Corbyn must be a slightly unexpected warm feeling for him.
I suspect he's waking up this morning feeling a lot happier than he was last Friday.
Well, I think so, yeah, because the point about any joint news conference with Donald Trump is that you just don't know what he's going to say.
Right.
And, he got through that with relative ease. I thought.
I think so. I think because for whatever reason, I think Donald Trump was kind of so bowled over by the Windsor Castle experience that he was kind of feeling, very benevolent and just was basking in the whole idea of British history, and how great it was.
Well, yes. I mean, if he can't have a Nobel Peace Prize, then at least he can, he can have an unprecedented second state visit to go in his historical record.
Absolutely right. Listen, John, we've got to run. Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. John Rentoul, chief political commentator at The Independent.